Today was my mother's 50th birthday. All the guests had already arrived. Everyone except my girlfriend Mary. I felt a little anxious. I gave her a call, but she didn't answer. I waited a minute and called again. This time, she picked up. Her tone was impatient. "George, why are you rushing me? I'm not going to run away." Before I could respond, she hung up. The line cut off, leaving only the busy tone. By 8 p.m., Mary finally showed up. She was late, but I was still happy to see her and rushed to greet her at the door. "Mary, what took you so long?" But then I saw someone standing next to her. She was holding a man's hand, looking intimate with him. My heart dropped. The guy looked rough around the edges, not someone you'd expect her to bring to my mother's 50th birthday party. Trying to stay polite, I nodded at him and was about to ask Mary what was going on, but she walked right past me, pulling him along like she owned the place. Inside, Aunt Keller, our longtime housekeeper, stepped forward. "Miss Mary, you're back. Madam has been asking for you. You should change and come greet everyone." Before Aunt Keller could finish, Mary snapped. "Who are you calling miss? Everyone in this house full of snobs acts like they're royalty." I was stunned. I quickly stepped in, scolding her. "Mary, what are you saying? That's out of line. Apologize to Aunt Keller." I thought maybe she was just having a bad day. I turned to Aunt Keller and apologized on Mary's behalf. But then the unthinkable happened. Mary stepped forward and slapped Aunt Keller across the face. "A servant like you thinks you can talk to me like that?" Aunt Keller stood there, stunned, clutching her reeling cheek as a drop of blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Was this really Mary? 7 years ago, on a stormy night, Mary's sick mother had brought her to our house, kneeling in the rain, begging my family to take her in. Mary was only 15 at the time. We took her in. Aunt Keller cared for her like her own daughter. My mother wasn't in great health, and I was busy with work. So, for 7 years, Aunt Keller looked after her. And now this. "Mary, what are you doing?" I shouted. "Have you lost your mind?" The commotion drew my mother and the guests to the room. But Mary wasn't done. She pulled a microphone out of her bag and said loudly, "Everyone, I have an announcement. I'm Mary and I'm breaking up with George." The room went dead silent. Everyone knew our history. When her mother was on her deathbed, she asked me to take care of Mary. I fell for her quickly. Maybe it was love at first sight. Maybe just sympathy. I was young and impulsive. I promised to love and protect her. Over the past 7 years, I gave her everything. I worked hard to support us, bought her whatever she wanted, made sure she was always taken care of. Everyone envied how much I loved her. "Mary, what are you talking about?" I said, still in disbelief. My eyes shifted to the man standing behind her. Hands in his pocket, smirking like he was enjoying the drama. I suddenly understood he was the reason behind Mary's madness. "Who is he, Mary?" I asked. She shoved me away and shouted, "What are you going to do, George? You can't touch Brother Tom." "Brother Tom," I repeated, completely lost. "I'm telling you right now, I was never your family's charity case. I'm not your child bride." Then she turned to my mother, held her hand, and shouted, "Old lady, don't think I don't know what you did. You used my father's death and my mother's illness to trap me into staying here." My mother turned pale, her body trembled, and she clutched her chest, swaying like she was going to fall. I rushed to support her, panic rising. "George," Mary continued coldly. "I've had enough of you. You disgust me. All you ever do is use your money to control me like some horny dog following me around." The words stung. I couldn't believe she was saying this in front of everyone. Then I heard Aunt Keller cry out, "Young master, the madam has fainted." I turned and saw my mother collapse. I ran to her shouting for help. Guests surrounded her and we got her in the car to rush to the hospital. But then Mary blocked the door. "You're not allowed to touch Brother Tom," she yelled. I couldn't believe it. My mother was fainting from a heart attack. And Mary, this woman I loved for 7 years, was stopping me from getting her to the hospital because of her new boyfriend. "Move!" I shouted, calling the bodyguards to pull her aside. We managed to get my mother to the hospital. After emergency treatment, she stabilized. But then I got a call from Aunt Keller. "Young master, if the madam's okay, can you come back quickly?" "What's wrong?" I asked. "Mary, she called a moving company. She's packing everything. And she sent that man into your room to collect things. I could hear the worry in Aunt Keller's voice. I'll be right there, I said, grabbing my keys. When I got back to the villa, the house was a mess. Mary was yelling again. Aunt Keller, what do you mean I can't take these things? George has so many clothes, hundreds of watches. What's the problem? And standing there was that man again. Brother Tom, digging through my belongings like he owned the place. What's the point of keeping so many things he doesn't even use? Mary's voice was sharp as she looked around. It's a waste. Sooner or later, he'll be struck by lightning for being so stingy. Tom, her so-called true love, was casually picking through my belongings like it was a garage sale. When Mary saw me standing in the doorway, her face turned red with anger. George, you're trying to stop me from being with Brother Tom, aren't you? Don't bother. He and I were real love. You have no idea how good he is to me. I just looked at her coldly, like I didn't even know this woman anymore. Earlier at the hospital, while my mother was in the emergency room, I made some calls and asked a few people to look into Tom. Turns out he wasn't Mary's classmate like I had assumed. He was a year older than her and had studied at a vocational college. Tom had chased after her relentlessly, asking for her number, texting her good morning and good night every single day. His background, let's just say it was rough. His mother's from a rural town known to be loud and uncouth. His father a chronic gambler. Whatever money he had, he blew it. They all lived squeezed into a tiny government-subsidized apartment barely 50 square meters in size. And this is who Mary left me for. If she didn't love me anymore and wanted to leave, fine. I wouldn't hold her back. Love can't be forced. But to humiliate me in front of my family on my mother's 50th birthday, a woman with a known heart condition, that was deliberate, cruel. I exhaled deeply and said, Mary, go be with your brother Tom. I won't stop you. But I didn't stop there. When your mother brought you to our house that night, she left you an 800,000 won in debt. Everything you have now, every single thing was given to you by the George family, by the man you now call scum. So, no, Mary, you won't be taking anything with you. Her eyes widened. She slammed her bag on the ground. I knew it. You're using this disgusting trick to trap me in your house. Fine, I don't want your damn things. I turned to head to my room, only to find it already turned upside down. Tom had ransacked it. My clothes were all over the floor. He had even changed into one of my tailored suits, looking at himself proudly in the mirror. And there he was, standing in front of my safe. He must have heard me come in because he suddenly called out, Mary, do you know George's safe combination? By the way, I took a few watches and suits. Hope that's okay. I cleared my throat. Tom froze. George, you're back. I thought you were still at the hospital. It hit me right then. The entire outburst during my mom's party, the public breakup, the shouting, it was a setup. They knew my mom would collapse from the stress, forcing me to rush her to the hospital, leaving them free to loot my home. My fists clenched, but my voice was cold. Mr. Tom, if you walk out of here with even one thing that doesn't belong to you, I will press charges for theft. Tom panicked. Wait, Mr. George. Mary rushed in, shielding him. George, if you so much as touch Brother Tom, I swear. I ignored her. Take off everything that belongs to me. I commanded the house bodyguards. The guards moved fast. Tom had picked out my Rolex, my PC Philippe, a few gold watches. He even had the nerve to change into my underwear. Now half naked, he was scrambling to put his own clothes back on while shouting, "This is personal assault. I'll sue you, George." "Be my guest," I said. "The whole place is under surveillance. You broke into my room and tried to steal. I'm ready to counter-sue." Mary jumped in screaming. "George, it was just some clothes. Why did your dogs beat him up? That's abuse." I didn't even look at her. "Keller, bring me Mary's passport and household registration book. Let her marry her so-called true love." As Mary stood barefoot in the doorway, clutching her documents and dragging Tom behind her, I took a long, painful breath. My lungs burned. My chest ached, not from heartbreak, but from disappointment. Aunt Keller looked at me with worry. "Young master, she took the household registration. She still has her ID. If she really marries that man, it might be a big problem later." I nodded calmly. "That's exactly what I want." Aunt Keller finally understood. Once she married Tom, she'd be tied to him completely. There'd be no turning back. And the reality of that decision would soon become her prison. A woman who'd nearly killed my mother with stress wasn't someone I would ever protect again. But the very next day, Mary had the nerve to call me. "You blocked my bank card," she shouted. "George, who do you think you are? I'm 21, you know. You don't control me." I don't know why, but I laughed. "So, she does know how old she is?" I let out a cold, dry laugh. "You're 21 now, right? An adult," I said. "I can call my bank card, not yours." Mary's voice fired back over the phone. "George, hurry up and restore it. I'm getting married and I've got things to buy. You're just trying to blackmail me into coming back, aren't you? You want to control me? Keep me obedient by your side." It's pathetic. She paused for a second, then added with a proud little edge in her voice. "Brother Tom is my true love. I don't care what you do." That last part, true love, almost sounded like a threat. After all this time, I finally saw it clearly. For 7 years, I had spoiled her, bent over backward to give her whatever she wanted. And she'd come to believe that I'd always be at her mercy. But I wasn't jealous anymore. I was just done. "Mary," I said calmly, "let's get something straight. You've lived under my roof, eaten my food, worn the clothes I bought, used everything I gave you for 7 years. Now that you're getting married, you won't get another cent from me. I'm not going to be the fool who keeps financing your life while you curse me behind my back. So, unless you've got something important to say, don't call me again." I hung up. Just then, I got a notification. The private investigator I'd hired had sent over an update. He'd looked into Tom's background further and gathered everything I needed. I reviewed the documents and called my assistant. "Prepare everything," I said. "They'll come knocking." And I was right. 3 days later, Mary showed up at my house with Tom's parents. Tom's mother, short, round in a loud red dress, wore caked-on foundation that couldn't hide her dark, sun-worn skin. Her hands were thick and calloused, clearly used to hard labor. Tom's father looked worse. Shifty eyes, slouching posture, reeking of someone who spent too much time in back alleys and betting parlors. The way he scanned the room the second he walked in, you'd think he was casing the place. I was seated on the living room sofa, waiting. I looked them over, saying nothing. Tom's mom, clearly irritated by the silence, plopped herself down. Across from me, crossed her legs dramatically, and said, "Mary, let me talk." Mary glanced at me smug and nodded. "George, right?" The woman barked. "Didn't your mother teach you how to treat guests? Where's the tea? The snacks?" Replied casually like I was commenting on the weather. "You're not my guests. And you're not welcome. Don't flatter yourself." She blinked, caught off guard by how blunt I was. "Rich people are so stingy," she muttered. "If you have something to say, say it. If not, leave. This isn't a place for people like you." Mary finally snapped. "George, everyone is equal. What happened to you? You're so uncultured now." I didn't answer her. I just felt tired. Tired of pretending anything about this situation was normal. Tom's mother puffed herself up. "We didn't want to come here. But let's be real. Mary came to your family when she was just a girl. Her mother begged for your help. And now, after all these years, don't you think it's time you returned what rightfully belongs to Mary's family?" I turned to Mary. "Is that why you're here?" I asked. "To claim what your mother left behind." Mary crossed her arms. "That's right. We used to be rich. We had property, stock, savings. You had no right to freeze my bank card. Return what belongs to me or I'll take you to court." I nodded. "Since you're married now, sure. It makes sense to return what's yours." I motioned to Aunt Keller, who brought over a small wooden box. At the sight of it, Tom's family lit up, eyes gleaming with greed. I opened the box slowly, pulled out a thick folder of documents, and began speaking. "When your mother brought you here, she didn't just bring you. She brought 8 million yuan in debt. I've mentioned this before. I paid it off every cent years ago. And since you're now married to Tom," I added with a half smile, "I'd appreciate it if Mr. Tom would help you pay me back." Mary's jaw dropped. Tom stiffened. "These files document everything I've paid over the last 7 years. Your education, housing, daily expenses, clothing, medical bills, even that birthday trip to Europe. You and I aren't related, Mary, and you didn't contribute a single cent to this household. If you don't repay the amount, I'll be taking legal action. The evidence is all here." The room went silent. Tom's smug grin vanished. He had spent months pursuing Mary, thinking she was rich, well-connected. He'd played the long game, even manipulated her with promises of love and a better life. He thought he'd struck gold. Turns out the only thing Mary came with was debt. Took a slow sip of my tea, watching their expressions crumble. "My lawyer will be here soon," I added. "Tom, if you're short on cash, no problem. Just write me an IOU with interest, of course. Think of it like a mortgage. I'm not trying to cheat you." Tom's face turned gray. Suddenly, his mother stood up and without warning slapped Mary across the face. Smack. "Tell me," she yelled. "Is everything he just said true?" Tom's mother suddenly shot to her feet. Without warning, she slapped Mary hard across the face. So hard her spit landed on Mary's cheek. Even from a few steps away, the sour stench of her breath hit me. Mary's delicate face flushed red and swelled almost instantly. She clutched her cheek, tears spilling out as she cried, "Mom, why are you hitting me?" "Hitting you?" Tom's mother spat back, furious. "I let you into my home thinking you were a rich girl. Turns out you're just putting on a show. I just want to know what George said. Is it true?" Mary looked at me, her expression timid and lost. "If you're going to hit someone, do it in your own house," I said coldly. "Not here." Then I turned to face her directly. "Every word I said is true, and I have the evidence to prove it." I looked Mary in the eye. "You know why your father died so young, don't you? It was the debt. The man couldn't carry the burden anymore. He took his own life." Mary had always vaguely known her family had problems, but back then she was just 15. Her mother had kept the truth from her. Maybe she truly believed they used to be wealthy. Or maybe Tom just saw her fancy clothes and assumed she came from money. But the truth hit hard. My lawyer came in with documents. The original debt of $8 million plus $630,000 in expenses I had covered over the years. Everything from food to school. Tom's eyes widened as he scanned the papers. He looked like he'd been slapped in the face, too. Then, just when things couldn't get worse, Tom actually slapped Mary hard. Blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. Aunt Keller instinctively stepped forward trying to stop him, but I gently pulled her back. This was her true love after all. Mary stood there, both cheeks swollen, her eyes filled with tears as she looked at me. "George, are you happy now? You planned all of this, didn't you?" I gave her a calm smile. "This is the love you chose, Mary. It's written all over your face. Enjoy it. Treasure it. Don't disappoint Mr. Tom. If you hadn't taken all your things back, he wouldn't have hit me," she cried. "You're doing this on purpose, ruining us. And you're still defending him?" I asked quietly. "You have so much, so many clothes, so many watches. What? Would it matter if you gave him a few? You're heartless. Brother Tom is right. The rich live in luxury while people like us freeze on the streets. Why can't you help us?" Even my lawyer was stunned by her words. Aunt Keller and I just stood there speechless. Then Tom stormed out of the house and into the yard. He turned and shouted, "Are you dead in there? Get your ass out." Mary, humiliated and desperate, scrambled after him. I watched them leave. "Aunt Keller," I said. "Throw out the sofa they sat on. Disinfect the living room and don't ever let people like that in again." Tom turned around, clenching his fists. "You think you're better than me?" I met his glare. "I don't think I know." He looked like he wanted to fight, but then just stormed off, dragging Mary behind him. After they were gone, Aunt Keller looked at me with concern. "How did Mary end up like this?" She whispered. "Maybe she's just like her mother," I said, blinded by love. My mother once told me Mary's family had been rich. But Mary's mother and only child fell in love with a poor artist. Despite my mother's warnings, she married him. They lost everything. Eventually, Mary's mother came back desperate with a young Mary in tow begging for help. Aunt Keller asked me if I was just going to let Mary throw her life away. "She's already married Tom," I said. "If she ever wakes up, divorces him, and comes back to apologize to Mom and you, I'll help her. I'll even send her abroad, find her a good match. But if she stays this stubborn, let her be. That's her true love, after all." I added bitterly. "What a joke. I'm not a cruel man, but I'm also not blind. Especially after I found out Tom had been using my mom's heart condition to manipulate Mary, trying to shake up my home. Heart disease is serious. It could kill her any day. I was furious. So, I had my lawyers apply legal pressure on Mary. She was an adult now, married and responsible for her debts. I also hired a few paparazzi to keep an eye on Tom's family. I had no choice. Mary had lived in my house for 7 years. She knew too much. Who knows what Tom might use her for? As expected, once they realized I wouldn't give them a cent, Mary became the target of Tom's and his mother's abuse. Tom even stopped her from attending her elite school. It cost too much. And of course, he didn't want her doing nothing either. So, his mother forced her to help sell vegetables at the market. Mary, raised in comfort, had never worked a day in her life. She was shy, clueless, and couldn't even sell a scallion. When she failed, Tom's mother beat her, but not on the face. She made sure to use a belt on places that couldn't be seen. A week later, I got a call from Mary. She had tried calling my mom, but mom blocked her, so she called me. "Brother George," she begged. "Can I borrow 50,000, please? She hits me every day. I don't know how to do business, but I'm really trying. If you help me, she won't hit me anymore. And brother Tom, he'll love me again." I exhaled slowly. What had Tom done to her? "Miss Mary," I said, my voice low. "You should focus on how to repay the money you already owe me." "George," she screamed. "Is money all you care about?" I didn't answer. I simply hung up the phone. That evening, I had my driver take me to a small vegetable market nearby. I hung up the phone that evening and sat quietly in my car, parked outside Tom's house. My eyes landed on a woman squatting on the ground, selling her goods, dirty, tired, barely recognizable. It was Mary. The same Mary who had been pampered since childhood, who had never even dipped her fingers in cold water. Now she wore cheap, tattered clothes that didn't fit, crouching on the roadside selling sweet potatoes and corn. From 7 to 10 p.m., in those 3 hours, she only managed to sell 1 order of sweet potatoes. 2 ears of corn were stolen. A buyer insulted her with sharp, sarcastic words. A few thugs, noticing her appearance, began to touch and tease her. By 10 gone that night, the roadside had grown quiet. I stayed sitting in the car for a long time, thinking I'd head to a nearby mall for a cup of coffee before going home. I had just come to see what the paparazzi had mentioned. How Mary was now selling vegetables and sweet potatoes. That was all. After all, this was the life she had chosen. This was the result of her love. But somehow she saw me. She ran over without a second thought and blocked my path. "George, give me some money. I'm not asking for much. Just a 100,000. No, actually 500,000. She said, "You used to buy me jewelry worth millions. Why are you being so stingy now?" I looked down at her hands, covered in mud, wounds cracked and bleeding. I took a step back. My driver quickly moved in front of me. That's when Tom's mother suddenly appeared from a corner. Without a word, she raised her hand and slapped Mary. "So, this is what you become? Selling vegetables on the street, flirting with men." She screamed, "How could my Tom be so blind as to choose someone so worthless? Always restless, always causing trouble. I'll kill you. I swear." She began hitting Mary. Mary cried, backing away. "Mom, I didn't. I didn't. I just is it that you can't control yourself when you see a man?" Tom's mother kept shouting, her insults vicious and cruel. I just stood there like a passerby, feeling neither happiness nor sadness. Tom's mother beat Mary, cursed her, then loaded the unsold sweet potatoes and corn onto a tricycle. After that, the nearly 200-pound woman sat herself on the tricycle while Mary, struggling, squatted and began to pedal her toward Tom's house. She was chasing her so-called love. In Tom's mother's hand was a bundle of cropped twine, which she used to whip Mary across the back, like beating an animal. My driver almost couldn't hold himself back from stepping in, but we both knew better. This wasn't something we could interfere in. After that night, I never saw Mary again. I buried every feeling deep inside me. The paparazzo who had taken my money continued updating me on her situation. He told me she was being beaten constantly. Each day she was either getting beaten or on her way to being beaten. Her body was covered in wounds, fresh injuries layered over old ones. Tom had once hoped to get rich through her, but now with that hope shattered, he poured all his rage onto her. Her life had become unbearable. She did heavy labor every day, and Tom's family took turns abusing her, sometimes all at once. 2 months later, the paparazzo told me that Mary was pregnant. The pregnancy had been confirmed. I fell silent. That night, I stayed up thinking. The next morning, I told the paparazzo not to follow them anymore. It was pointless. But a week later, I got an unexpected call from Tom. "Mr. George, let's talk," he said. "I know you still haven't let go of Mary. What do you want to talk about?" I asked. "I'll return Mary to you if you give me $5 million. How about that?" "Mr. George, I've done my homework. Your consortium owns over a dozen publicly listed companies. You're extremely wealthy. $5 million is just pocket change to you." I smiled calmly. "You're right. $5 million means nothing to me. I used to spend millions on jewelry for Mary without blinking." Tom's voice brightened. "So, you agree?" "Don't worry," he added. "I'll bring Mary back to you today." I scoffed. "Mr. Tom, my family only deals in legal business. We don't participate in human trafficking. This is extortion. And I've already recorded this entire conversation." Then I hung up and blocked the number, or rather blocked Mary because he had called from her phone. Tom truly disgusted me. He had manipulated a naive and innocent Mary showed up at my house during my mother's birthday and nearly gave her a heart attack. And now that Mary was pregnant, he dared to demand money. In the following 2 months, I went abroad. Business went smoothly, and with my large family and endless responsibilities, Mary slowly faded from my thoughts. Back home, people in our social circle began suggesting marriage prospects. I declined them all. I'm not sure why, but as Christmas approached, I started feeling uneasy. On Christmas Eve, I was alone at home when I received a call from an unfamiliar number. I thought it was a mistake and ignored it. But then the phone rang again. I picked up ready to tell them to check the number. But the moment the line connected, I heard a laugh. Light unhinged. "Brother George. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday." "Yes, my birthday is on Christmas." I was about to hang up when I heard her soft, eerie voice again. "I killed them all." I froze. "It feels so good that they're all dead," she said, still laughing gently. "Brother George, not only have I learned to sell vegetables, but now I've learned to sell meat, too. Chop by chop with a cleaver. Our poison works wonders. It won't kill, but it knocks people out." Then I just started cutting like pork. There was a lot of blood, but it was fun. My first time. Not enough experience, but cleaning up easy. Just tidy everything up and it's fine. I was shaking. "Mary, what did you do? Who did you kill?" "Tom and his mother and that old bastard," she said, giggling again. "Now I'm going to kill that little bastard, too." I shouted. "Mary, don't do anything stupid. I'm coming right now." But before I could say another word, I heard an explosion on the other end of the line. Then her voice, soft and twisted, "Happy birthday." I ran down the stairs and shouted for my driver. I called the police as we sped toward Tom's house, but by the time we arrived, everything was already in flames. A sea of fire roared into the sky, lighting up the night and burning away all their sins. According to the police investigation, Tom's family had been poisoned and knocked unconscious before being stabbed repeatedly and dismembered. Mary then turned on the gas and set the house on fire, causing an explosion. But what stunned the police most was this. Tom's head was missing. It was only found days later in a septic tank. Every sign pointed to the fact that Mary's anger and hatred had been building for a long time. After interviewing neighbors, police confirmed the abuse Mary had suffered. Tom had hung her by a rope and whipped her with a belt through the night. It was a neighbor who finally called the police to save her. Others said Tom's father had raped her repeatedly and beat her when she resisted. It was sickening. I handled her funeral personally. I buried her ashes beside her mother's grave. On the day of the burial, I placed a bouquet of sunflowers at her tombstone. I hoped that in her next life, she could see the world more clearly, to understand the cruelty of some people's hearts, that she wouldn't be tricked by love again. As for me, I don't know what to say. If Mary had truly stopped loving me and moved on, I would have wished her well. But until her very last breath, she couldn't let me go. On my birthday, after killing Tom's entire family, she called me, let me hear the explosion and wished me happy birthday. Every year since on my birthday, I can't help but think of her. Even if I've already let go, deep down, I never really could. A youth without regrets. A love chased in vain.